All right. Welcome, everyone. This is our episode one of Straight to It. This is our platform. This is our personal space, and we invite you into it. Here, we're going to be talking about personal and current topics as it relates and how we see fit. This is a space where you're free to comment, share, like. We're not above improvement or criticism. So bring it. With that being said, we are discussing a whole host of topics. Obviously, you have the news, you have the media, you have everything. You have it at the tip of your fingers. But we're discussing how everyone has their regular conversations. And that's what we do on this channel. So without further ado, let's get straight to it. I'm here with a good man here. He's my brother. I've known him for over 10 years. Very smart, knowledgeable, well respected. I respect him deeply, and we are like minded individuals. So I'm going to let him introduce himself, and then he's going to bring it on back. Jay, go ahead.
Thank you, my brother. My name is Jason, and you know, in a world where there's too many loud voices and um, not enough meat and potatoes in what's being said, I like to be able to bring something different to the world of podcasting. I'm a dad. I like many of you, I have life experience. Like many of you, I have a series of degrees in fields of people, psychology, public health, women's studies. So, I think I'm going to bring something collectively from different perspectives of all the topics that are important to us that we seem to not be able to pull ourselves away from. So, thank you for welcoming me in, and I look forward to this journey with the entire world watching.
That's what's up. And I appreciate you. You are definitely one of the first people I did talk to, and you were right on it. And for that, I deeply appreciate you for joining the journey. And this is a journey. Obviously, there's three of us. The other third member, he's dealing with personal matters. So we just want you guys to have him in your prayers, and you know let him
Definitely.
handle his space. But he'll introduce himself and get acclimated into what we're trying to do as we embark on this journey. But my name is Clem Boogie. A lot of you guys know who I am. I've seen a lot of things that I do. I'm on social media on all platforms. So you have a little taste of who I am and what I do in my spare time. But I have a business degree. I am educated. I've held a whole host of jobs. I've worked with people of all walks of life. So I have the pseudo life experiences. Um, I'm not married, no kids, but I do enjoy kids. I have nieces and nephews that adore me, and they are just like my kids. With that being said, the podcast world, what can I say? It's different. There's a lot of tough people on here. There's a lot of
Mhm.
characters, a lot of personalities, but I enjoy it. I'm coming in with Jason, like I said, I've known for years. And Mike, who's the other gentleman that's part of our team, he's the third member. I've known him ever since high school. So we go back like eons. But with that being said, I think there'll be a deep appreciation for what, as individuals, we bring to this podcast, what straight to it means to us, and how we present it to you guys. And interestingly enough, it's basically conversations. It's all predicated on conversations that you might have had with your girlfriends, your guys. You could have been in the club, you could have been at McDonald's, you could have been anywhere. Water cooler talk, you name it. But I think it's definitely something, a conversational starter. And it's something that you'll be, presently surprised that you'll get out of individuals like us. And with that being said, let's get right on to our topic. So, everyone's been watching the news, and if you've been living under a rock, hopefully not. Our topic that we are displaying is, if everyone can see, where do you stand with Ime, Kyrie, and Ye? Very synonymous names in the last couple of months. Very, eye-popping topics. So I'm gonna let Jason take a stab at this, and trust me, ladies and gentlemen, he will give you a very interesting spin on what it is. Jay, lead us
You,
off.
man. Yep. So I wanna take a little bit on each of our three gentlemen that we're discussing, and I want to start with Ime.
Mhm.
And it's a very unfortunate situation sized. And in the beginning, it felt like he was a predator of sorts. That was
Right.
kind of the spin they were trying to angle for, right? So people were already having preconceived ideas on what they thought this was really about. And I mean, ESPN, I mean, you had people saying, oh man, when you find out what it is, it's going to be really bad. And you're going to really, and they really fed us this nonsense to really lead us into thinking this guy had to have been the workplace predator. Like it couldn't have been anything less than that. And and we've unfortunately been in workplaces where we've seen this guy, right? That this guy who uses his title to dib and dab, and he probably
Scumbags.
yeah, and that type of guy normally wouldn't get the type that he's getting,
Right.
but the title he wears on his chest, he manipulates the situation with false promises or whatever it is. So I was over here originally thinking, man, I wish it wasn't him, and don't get me wrong, I'm never gonna be a Celtics fan. Don't like them. But I respect, I mean, first year coach to the finals. Like I respect the dude. He took a lot of young, talented dudes and brought the best out of them. Not a lot of coaches get recycled all day. The only two coaches that ain't been recycled is Eric Spoelstra and Coach Popovich. Everyone else has rotated teams. So in a sports world where coaches, especially the NBA, where coaches just keep flip-flopping, it was like, damn, 1 year and he already played himself. Then you find out the story is not that. It's actually the total furthest from that. All he did, I'm not condoning cheating. That's not what this is about to sound like. But all he did, and I'm going to say all he did because they raised the bar of what we thought this whole entire situation was.
Right.
And then it was all the way down here. All he did was he had sex with his boss's wife. Be mindful, consensual sex. She hit on him. They flirted. It happened.
Right.
Granted, that's a big risk when you smash the boss's wife. That's not just your work wife or your work husband. This is your boss's. So I get why they put the negative spin in the media to try to get everyone against them, because this billionaire boss guy must have really felt like, wow, this motherfucker, like he must have felt like someone so far beneath him did that. And so now they shun him. Now they're making him seem like he's like the worst coach in the history of coaching. And I just think that I 100% hope he gets another coaching position. He's a great coach.
Right.
And I think people need to remember that at the workplace, don't get me wrong, that's an HR issue.
Right.
They should have dealt with it internally. If you're going to suspend him for, however, that's not really a termination offense unless they're having sex on the court or in the building, and then I can understand them saying, you know what, you got to go. But if they're just having an affair outside the workplace, and and she does work for them also, and you can't fraternize with coworkers and all that, then I get it. That's a rule. That's not really a termination rule, but that's a rule. And I just think that too many things played a part there. One, it was the boss, like the guy who felt the most untouchable.
Yeah.
And two, because Stephen A. Smith said something very interesting. He said that in his entire journey
Hmm.
of all these decades of covering the sport,
Right.
that probably every team has had this happen in some form or facet.
Right.
It's never been public. However, this is the first time that it was a black male.
Yeah.
And I think that's an important thing to really look at. Like, did this guy really think, oh man, like, did he think him with all the bias in his head?
Right.
I mean, I granted there's a lot of emotion in that, that's wife. There's a lot of emotion.
Right.
However, I'm wondering why was this so publicized when none of the other situations have ever came out?
Yeah. And not to cut you off, but I agree with you 1000% in every point that you had, brought up. I think what needs to be highlighted is that number one, it was consensual.
Yes.
I think people get, you know, they get fascinated with, okay, he's the coach, he's this, he's that, and blah, blah, blah. Like you said, when an initiative came out, you would have thought he was like the scumbag of
Yeah.
the year. And, I remember watching it with my girlfriend and we were just like, what? And like the highlighted thing was consensual. So I'm like, why does everyone care?
Right.
I
See?
was like, this is if anything should be a HR issue, labor relations issue. You sit them down. Don't do that again.
Right. Oh, we're gonna
And
suspend you for a week, a month, something. So a whole season
right. And with no definitive date,
of
deadline,
return. Right.
nothing. You slashed his pay, from what I understand.
Which
Um,
is crazy.
yeah, he's not allowed to be within the facilities, nothing, no contact, no nothing, whatever. But again, we've worked in corporate America for the better portion of our lives. Um, I think the way we understand, we're not dumb, but I think that when HR has an issue with you, or if they have an issue with anyone, do they run to the Daily News or to the
Right. You're not
Post?
supposed to. Right.
Right. I believe there's something within the contract that doesn't get publicized. So why did they feel the need to publicize this? And, if you want to dig in deeper, I think the executive whose wife was involved or whatever the case may be, he had an inkling that his wife had, some outside dealings.
Right.
So we had a PI follow him. And lo and behold, caught.
Right.
And, okay, who's she doing it with? Then Ime
Yeah.
happens to be, the head coach of the team. Oh, wow. Okay. So it's one of those situations where it's like, okay, so we're just going to throw the whole book at the situation, but the person that you initially are gunning for, we don't know. Like
Right.
we know is a female, we know that it's your wife, but the vitriol and the venom and everything, nothing's directed towards her. So he accidentally got the bullet,
Right.
guilt by association. And they put all his dirty laundry out there. Oh, him and Nia Long, and they got a kid. How can he do this? And all the tabloids, blah blah blah. They've been having whatever. People got to understand. Like at the end of the day, he's human. People are human. No
Right.
one has ever been in a relationship where it's 1,000%, on the right length or the right wave. You're gonna
Right.
have problems. You have arguments. You never know what people are going through, and I think that's something people have to be very sensitive about, because you're judging. We live in a world where, and especially in our communities, everyone's quick to judge. Man, if I had her, or man, if I had him, and I'm like, you had what?
Right.
you
Right.
don't have. You don't know what people go through on a day-to-day basis. It's easy from afar to say it, but to be in it, it's a totally different case.
Yeah. You know what else I found interesting about it
Mhm.
was how damn near every female broadcaster
Mhm.
like trashed him
Big time.
without be mindful. This was when they first threw that fake story out that
Mhm.
made him sound like a predator. I mean, they didn't wait for the real story. They just attacked them. And they were on ESPN, on Sports Center. Oh, that like and then the male sportscasters, the few that you can see is always how do I say? They're just always trying to fit in for the moment,
Oh
right?
yeah, the peanut gallery. Yeah.
Yeah, so they just chiming in, and I remember, I don't know, I don't want to say it was Richard Jefferson. No, I don't think it was. But somebody said something to the effect of, "Oh man, wait till you find out what it really is, because then
Oh, that
it's
would be
real."
Matt Barnes. And
Matt Barnes.
I
He
happen to
made
like
it
Matt
sound like
Barnes.
my guy. Yeah, he made it sound like Ime was Jack the fucking Ripper.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
he was like, wait till you find out what it really. Oh man, because sources told me. Clearly, sources lied,
Right.
because this dude don't know what he's talking about. Because when
Right.
I found out what it was, I was like, dude, I don't care.
Yeah.
Like, come on.
I think to your point, I think people when you move positions, I think like I'm not going to say social status because not to throw shade or any kind of shade to Matt Barnes, but he's no choir boy.
Right.
Everybody knows like the nonsense that he had during his playing career and a little after he hung it up, and his situation with his then ex-wife and
Yeah.
things of that nature.
You
But
know, I don't mean to cut you off, Clem,
mhm,
quickly. You know why it shocked me that it came from him? Now that I remember how I felt when I heard him say it,
mhm,
was because of all people that are now on that side of the sport.
right,
Um, I would think that he would, not jump to judgment, because he's been the victim of that several times, where
big time,
people have,
yeah,
like, people wanted to ban him from the league, and it wasn't even that serious. But he
yeah,
did a lot of knucklehead stuff, but I never felt like it warranted that. And
right,
so I was like, in hindsight, I remember being a little like, damn, so Matt put that out there like that. It wasn't even about nothing.
right.
So yeah, it's a little like crazy that it came from him to be that way. I wouldn't be surprised if it was from someone else, but like, dude,
Yeah,
you should know
Skip
better, Walt.
Bayless.
Yeah, oh, forget it. Phew.
Yeah, I mean it's but like when things like that come full circle and we kind of look at it, especially when it comes to our community, like we're so conditioned, at least some individuals, to always see that, oh man, he fucked up, like, oh, he fumbled the bag, oh, he did that, like
Yeah,
nothing positive, nothing like trending in a way where it's like, okay, well, all right, like let's look at this consensual. So both were willing participants. So what's the problem? And
and the
then
PA found them away from the workplace.
correct,
They
they were
weren't
on their own
smashing on the
time.
court.
Right,
They
they
weren't
were on their
smashing
own
on the
time.
court.
Right, but then I guess the dynamic changes when it's the executive. Then he gets to throw his chest up and flex his power. And I think that's where he's like, okay, you want to do this? So let's rewind it and reel it in. And we're going to take this away from you. We're going to take that away from you. And you're
Right,
going to have
and
to
they
sit
did.
there and
Yeah,
wait. And, and it also, in the next two gentlemen that we're going to touch on, there's parallels in that too. But
yeah,
I think the full basis of it is that here you have a gentleman that took a franchise which was struggling for, I want to say 8-9 years, and took them to the pinnacle. Of course, they
right.
didn't win, but he did such a great job. He positioned himself into a raise, more responsibility, more clout, and he was just, he was right there, the eye of the news. Young coach, young black
Yeah,
coach in a
yeah.
Boston town with that kind of
In Boston.
right, with that kind of tradition and things of that nature. And all it takes is one mistake, and
Yeah,
that's it. But to your point, I hope he gets an opportunity. I know it was in talks before the whole Brooklyn and their whole debacle and how they started out with the season and what Kevin Durant wanted and stuff like that during the summer. Dots and lines didn't align, but it's still 82 games in the season, so it
you never
remains to be
know, right?
seen. It remains to be seen. But yeah, as far as it concerns with Ime, I definitely do think he's deserving of another shot.
Yep.
If he doesn't, it'd be sad. But we know how this goes when politics get into it, and the powers that be. And I hate saying that kind of stuff. He might sit on ice for a minute.
Yeah. You know what? what's really crazy about that particular punishment that they gave him
Right.
is the indefinite, right? So what they
Mhm.
can do is they reduce his pay and they could just hold him off from ever getting the bag
Yep.
until his contract expires.
Yep.
Like they could be really petty and just be like, no, it's still suspension, it's still, whatever. And like it's crazy. I mean, I don't know. You know what? I should have looked at it. I don't know if the coaches have a union. I know the players do.
Yeah, players league. The
Yeah,
coaches I think are just independent in
right. Because there's probably so few of them.
right.
They probably because I was gonna say that this definitely would have warranted some type of union activity because this is crazy the way they just it's like, oh, you know what? I'll get to you after a year and then
I
we'll
agree.
figure it out. Like
Yeah.
what?
Yeah. It's definitely a situation where it's a question mark and a to be continued. However, I know as far as me and you go, we do wish him well.
Yes.
I know the Boston, they're thriving. They're obviously, I cover sports on my own time and do the whole betting thing. I know they're very, very high on betting odds as far as to get back to the championship game, to the finals. Will they win it? I don't know. If everyone is, injury free, yeah, they out of everyone have the most
They
complete team
they're deep too.
and they're
When
improved.
healthy. When
Yeah,
healthy.
Jalen Brown is much improved, and
Ooh,
Jason Tatum is just a beast.
yeah.
I think if anything, he's figured it out, and I think that's going to be scary for a lot of people in the league.
And they're young. That's what makes it so dynamic, is that
Absolutely
they get to grow together in a way that, I mean, hopefully there's no contracts that get in the middle. You know how
right.
things always go sideways,
Yeah.
but they have the ability to grow together in ways that, like, and I'm not comparing, like
Mhm.
LeBron and Wade didn't really grow together.
Right.
They came together. Shaq and Kobe. Kobe grew with Shaq more so because Shaq came there.
Right.
But these guys got the opportunity to go from, oh, they have potential to front
Yeah.
runner of
Yeah.
MVP right
They're
now.
it.
Like together though. You know what
Hmm.
I mean? Like
Right.
these guys have the potential to have been two guys that people are like, oh yeah, they could be really good, but let's see what happens, to being top 10 players together at the same time.
The scary part is before Ime got there. Remember what the word was? They need to blow that team up.
Yeah, I remember. Listen, I was being hopeful because I wanted Jalen Brown on my team
Right. Right.
badly because he got that dog in him that,
Yeah.
that's my guys. I like that Bam. I like that Jimmy Butler.
Hmm.
I was hoping, I was like, oh, please blow it up.
Yeah.
But Ime saved them, man.
Yeah, he put the pieces together and they made it work. And they were within, I believe, 2 games of beating Golden State.
Yeah,
And obviously, we know how that ended up. And
yeah,
kudos to the Golden State Warriors. They did their thing, but we are in the middle of the new season, so anything's possible.
yeah. Anything's possible.
So let's shift gears to uh, Mr. Kyrie Irving,
Yeah.
my
So,
guy.
man,
Go
Kyrie,
ahead,
man.
Jay. Take that stab.
Yeah.
I know this is a big stab here.
So, um, you know what made Kyrie such an easy target? Because this is what I realized um the last couple of days is how much of an easy target he was.
Right.
He didn't see the film, he
Right.
just reposted it.
Mm-hmm.
Ignorance should get a pass,
Yep.
especially when you say I didn't see it. I just thought, I was wrong. Like that would be it.
Right.
But he's such an easy target because he's had a series of what people would deem shenanigans for so many years. At first, like we joked about it in the past, where he used to party on boats, but only would have white girls there.
Right.
And
Yes.
I remember, people gave him hell for that.
Right.
And he just never gave a shit, right? And I
Mhm.
don't mean that in a way that he don't care about people because he's very caring.
Yeah.
He's very giving. He's very philanthropic. He's a good guy. So
Yeah.
that's not what I'm
100%.
saying. What I mean
Hmm.
by him not giving a shit is to the media.
Right.
He didn't give a shit. He's
Yeah.
like,
He's on his
say
own
what you
time.
want. I'm
Right.
living my life. I'm
Hmm.
and that's great. But it always made him a target. And that's the main thing that I felt like this got pushed so far, is because Kyrie's an easy target because he stands on his own.
All right.
He's not, except for this apology tour thing that I wish he didn't do.
Right.
I really wish he didn't do this whole
Agreed.
I'm
Agreed.
sorry for it. Like him retweeting something. How I can't fathom, and maybe because I come from a whole nother world in this
Right.
era.
Hmm.
I don't know how that hurts someone's feelings.
Yeah.
Like it's like you want to be offended. So I always have this line that I tell people is that being offended is a choice.
Yep.
It's
100%.
100%
It's a
a
fact.
choice. If I
Hmm.
see something, I just scroll by it. It doesn't bother no more. It's
Right.
over. Like, how does that resonate with entire dynamics and whole different community? Because it wasn't just one community. It
Right.
was many different people with their 2 cents on why Kyrie was wrong. And I just didn't see that. Ignorance should always get a pass when you admit ignorance.
Correct.
And there is no other evidence that showed outside of ignorance. Nothing else. He didn't make a statement on it. He didn't say it's my favorite film. He didn't say nothing. He tried to educate people by saying who we are.
Right.
We are the original. Like,
Hmm.
I don't know why you mad about that. Be mad at history. Be mad at God. Because we are who we are. And like, I
Right.
didn't get why that was so offensive. And it really bothered because unfortunately, moving forward, he's always going to be the easy target, and it's just
Yeah.
never going to change. From the flat Earth, that people listen. People have been saying that for years,
Right.
but once he says it, it's a bigger joke to the world. It's more memes.
Hmm.
It's more attacks. It's more like it's like he's. It's unfortunate that standing on your own and not taking shit from reporters have
Hmm.
made him this big national target.
Right.
He didn't want to take the shot. He chose to be suspended. That's
Hmm.
cool.
Right.
We've worked with people that chose to leave their job for that, and
100%.
it wasn't a big deal. It's a
Hmm.
job. People forget that playing sports professionally is a job,
Right.
just like a job.
Yeah.
And he has a boss. He has consequences, which
Right.
he chose to accept it. So people are, oh, nah. Like if I didn't want to take the shot and I was working at the workplace, and I tell
Hmm.
people, listen, you know, you might be short of staff until they get someone to fill my spot, but I'm going home.
Right.
That's just the way that's going. Like, you can't be like, oh, you know what? F your beliefs, you know, F your mistrust.
Right.
We have a hard time trusting because this country or this planet has a history of experimenting on us.
100%.
And it's impossible
Right.
to say on a Tuesday, you know what? I think we could trust them now. It's impossible. Even if you're the most kind, trusting person, Tuskegee happened. So many other things have happened. I mean, our people have been to wars in this country and
Hmm.
returned back to this country and have been lynched
Yep.
in the suit.
Yep.
So, do I understand people saying, yo, I don't trust that? Like, I get it.
Yeah.
I get it. We have a history of being too trusting and being the victims of that.
I think where it gets even more interesting is us two gentlemen who have worked in the healthcare space for as long as we have
Yeah.
know people and also doctors that
I
refused
refuse.
to take the
Yeah.
jab. So if that wasn't a tall telling sign, I really don't understand. And me and also yourself, I'm not one to argue with anyone's stance.
Right.
If you have your stance, that's you. That's fine. I'm not going to question you. But I think now we've entered a space where everything needs to be questioned. Like, why
Right.
didn't you take the vax? Why this? Which one of the vax did you take? What this? What's that? Why is it anyone's business? First of
Right.
all, does that impact your job? No. Does it impact your check? No. I think a lot of what people see is more so just trying to be inclusive. I think if they're not they don't have full understanding of something, it's like, okay, well, why did Jason do it, or why didn't Jason do it? I want to find out.
Right.
Why are you concerned about what something is somebody's doing as opposed to what you're going to do for yourself? Should
Right.
be the highlighted question.
Exactly.
And I think that's the part where Kyrie comes in. I understand. Obviously, we're both older than him, and we've had much more life experiences than him. I think the challenging part of being a Kyrie Irving or any athlete, like you had stated, is that you're going to be in the public eye 24/7. He's made some outlandish comments before. Do we fault him? No. I
No,
think we know enough to just like laugh it off or just be like, all right, he's just, he's doing whatever he's doing. But he is educated. He's a smart
yep.
young man. And
Oh yeah,
one thing I give him credit, he does dig deep to find the sense of self. And, just recently he embarked on his journey to embrace Islam, the Muslim, state for himself. Cause I think when they were in the bubble, when they had, once COVID had hit, or I think even beforehand, he was starting to do all that, the conversion. And I respect it. I don't knock him. I
yeah,
don't knock no one for doing it because it's not easy. I've seen people do
right.
it. I've had some family members and I see it. I think to your point, where he becomes the easy target is because he's going to stand his ground. He's going to dig his heels in what he believes. People wanted an apology. He didn't feel the need to apologize. He say he's not anti-Semitic. I don't like, and I took it and I accept it.
I felt like that was enough. I didn't really get the whole, 5 bullet points and
Oh,
like they
please.
like
That's completely ridiculous because I feel like when you start doing stuff like that, you're proving that person said exact point.
right,
And I think you're pushing it because us as black men, you know, we're not destined to win. Like just
right,
for us to be the age that we are, we've won. We've more than halfway won the battle.
yeah,
Um, I think that bullet point thing, I think that struck a nerve with me, and I'm sure it did with you because it's like, why are you trying to emasculate him at this point?
exactly.
You know, like, okay, you want to take money away from him. You want him to sit down with a certain group. You want him to study and do like the list went on and it just
Yeah,
became
it
very
was
ridiculous.
crazy. Listen,
And
you've had people beat their wives,
yep.
kids,
Hmm.
all kind of, all kind of stuff. This dude retweeted something.
Hmm.
He
No
reposted something.
caption. He didn't
No
champion
caption.
anything,
It wasn't his post. He reposted someone else's post.
which everybody does.
Right. Then, I find it so, and this is why I firmly believe it's only because it was Kyrie Irving.
Right.
Um, the same communities that we all upset, and I say communities with an S because I was baffled at how people just got together. It felt like it was a lynching going on because it
Yep.
was crazy. All I needed to see was tiki torches and them surround them because
Hmm.
people were coming from all around them.
Right.
And I found that interesting because the same group of people was privy to the information that we all found out
Right.
that in Shaq's movie theaters they played that film.
Yeah.
No one has yet ever asked Shaq for an apology. Also, Amazon still has it.
Yep.
$12.99. It's on there.
Mhm.
No one's asked Amazon for an apology. And I
And they
felt
won't.
this is only because it's Kyrie Irving. If it was Kanye, they would have been the same. Just them two. Only
Right. Right.
because it's them. Not
Mhm.
because it's very offensive. Is that people want to be offended when it becomes someone that is an easy target, right? So Kyrie, it's unfortunate, and but I love even when I don't agree when he says stuff that I'd be like, yeah, but I love that he stands on his two, and
Yeah.
he's like, no, I'm not gonna let you change that around. I said this, and I love that. And it's unfortunate that that's what makes you a target in today's era. Because when you stand on your own and you individualize yourself and you don't
Right.
fit in with the pack becomes offended because they
Right.
force themselves to be offended, and then they try to bring you into the pack. But when you refuse to do that, oh, you see, he's a knucklehead, he's stupid, he's this, and people will say a whole bunch of stuff instead of listening to the message. And
Correct.
that's what makes Kyrie a target, and it's unfair. But this is where we're at.
Big time. And to add to that, I think, and this is just my personal PSA, and me and you have talked about it for years. It wasn't like something that happened overnight. My PSA to people, you could be black, white, green, red, whatever domination or whatever ethnicity you want to be. When you ask someone the same question 15 times and they give you the same answer 15 times, Don't be upset. The only reason why you're upset is because it's not the answer is not sufficient enough for your liking.
Right.
That's what the issue is. The man answered the question. Now, if you're trying to get a rise out of someone, keep doing it. You're gonna find. My dad is a firm believer. He's always told me, he's like, "Oh, keep doing it. You're gonna get what you asked for." But are you willing and ready to receive it?
Right.
That's really the thing.
Right.
And that's ever so true, especially in today's cultures and generations. People are fond of trying to, like, I don't know, manipulate or undermine someone's answer or someone's, feedback or response or whatever the case may be. And it's always detrimental. Anytime it's deemed positive, it gets thrown away or brushed under the rug or whatever. But the minute it just sparks an ounce of controversy or some, conflict or whatever the case may be, it's definitely a touch point.
Right.
And it's terrible because it's like you said, he's a kid. I think he just turned 30 years old or whatever the case may be. He still has a lot of life to go. And
Right.
he's trying to understand his lineage and things of that sorts. But like, to be chastised, to try to emasculate him, take this away, even with Nike, like, we all love Nike. We all still have Nike. But what Phil Knight and that entity said, well, basically Phil Knight, is disgusting. Why
Yeah.
would you say what? Like, why would you, like, what is that? Like, you feel you have that much power over someone? Like,
It's
his shoe line
crazy.
was about to come out and you can axe it just like that? It's
It's
crazy.
crazy. I really hope that what we get from this situation is a new way to allocate our spending power, and
100%.
that these gentlemen who have been through the ringer, Kyrie, Kanye, I hope that, and I hope fully that they come out with their own. No more dealing with Nike. And I get that the bigger check up front comes from the Nikes and the Adidas, but you guys have generated enough buzz. You have a following.
Yeah.
And people will be there for that. And I think that look what Steph did. Steph took a chance on fucking Under Armour when no one I
Yep.
knew in
Big
existence
time.
had an Under Armour pair of sneakers.
Mm-hmm.
And his sneakers skyrocketed. Now, of course, that's a partnership, but I'm just using it as an example that he took a chance and got a bigger bank up front, and he took a
Mm-hmm.
chance on him. And people
Right.
didn't buy because Under Armour all of a sudden looked dope. It's
Right.
because it was Steph Curry and he had a following. And right now at this stage, I believe wholeheartedly, and it would be dope if they did it together and did a shoe
Right.
line together. But I feel wholeheartedly that Kyrie and Kanye should unequivocally, Kyrie should come out with his own kicks. Kanye should come out with his own clothing line. And I just think that it's now. Like,
Yeah.
this can change the game. Like, I know people look at athletes and celebrities and stuff, and they want a role model. I don't look for that,
Right.
right? Because I believe that you have to be the role model of your home, whatever
Yep.
your home consists of. You have
Mm-hmm.
to be that role model. Your children, your nieces, nephews, your cousins, everyone younger should not be looking at them in a higher regard than they look at the person who runs the home. It just shouldn't
Right.
happen. And I
Yeah.
would never let that happen in my home. My kids are never going to be like, Dad, I get it, but I love LeBron James. Nah, we're not doing that. We don't do that in this house. Like, we
You're right.
don't, yeah, we don't do that. They're not going to
Right.
be like, oh, it's Drake. Like, we don't do that. I
Right.
always remind them that's his job. He's just a guy with a job.
Yeah.
Like, that's it. I don't let them follow them and on social media and be like, oh, look at that car. We don't care about that.
Right.
He's the only one driving it. You ain't driving it. What you worried
Yeah,
about?
right.
We don't do that. We don't do that.
Facts.
With that being said, I don't think we should look at them in some type of moral code in
Right.
role model sense. I think that right now, what we should look at them for and hope for is that they lead the charge of celebrity, big celebrity status,
Mm-hmm.
creating their own business of clothing, of sneakers, because we don't do that.
Yeah.
Now, people start smaller, like Jay-Z did Rockaware, but he wasn't as big as Kanye is now. He
Right.
wasn't as big as Kyrie is now. Back then, they weren't. Puffy wasn't this big when he did Sean John, but
Right.
it got there. because the following went with him. But then they also had partners who were not us. And I'm
Right.
talking about full 100% control. If a big celebrity of those statures say, "Yo, we're gonna do our own," it it,
No,
it would change the entire dynamic of our existence.
I agree with you. I think a lot of it has to do with is you hit it right on the head, ownership. I think
It
a lot
has
of
to
the
be.
times we don't have sole proprietorship of our products. The things that, put it like this: we have 1,000% ownership of our likeness, like people and influence. And I think for all the baggage and craziness that comes with Ye and a Kyrie or Jay-Z or whoever, if Jay-Z said a hotline, guess what? There will be 1,000 dudes doing what he said in that particular verse.
Yep.
If Kanye went, which he did, and I don't own a pair, got Yeezy slides, you would see a whole bunch of people rocking Yeezy slides.
Yep.
That's just how, especially in our community, that's how it works. And yeah, I'll take it a step further. When you go downtown and midtown in the village or whatever, what are they wearing? They're wearing Yeezys. I
Yep.
did I did a test study, you know. A test study could have, and it just proved my point. I was just walking and I was in Harlem area. And I said, okay, for all this anti-Semitic and all this smoke that everyone is giving Ye, let's see how many people have any of his items on, whether it's the sneakers, the slides, or whatever. And it happened to be, I think it was like 70 something degrees that day. And I just went walking. Tell me why I just went a 2 block radius and I counted 11 pairs
Look at
of
that.
his actual paraphernalia someone was wearing. But yet everyone claims they're in an uproar, how
Right.
crazy he is, how he he needs to get his medicine, and oh, he's bugging and this that. Listen, if that's their example of someone who's bugging that's crazy, I would like to be that crazy too, because he's laughing to the bank, you know.
Yeah.
And yeah, I do. I watched the Drink Champs interview, and not to segue from Kyrie, but I watched the Drink Champs interview, and he raised a lot of points, some good, some bad. Like the George Floyd stuff. All right, we watched this, so Kanye, just sit down for a little bit with
Yeah.
that one. But as it pertains to higher powers, that group, I'm not going to say their name because we're using the platform and we don't want any copyright strikes or anything crazy. uh yeah, it's no different than any conversation that I've had since I was like 15.
Right.
And I think people right now are starting to push the button and trying to see, when you press that button, what's going to happen, because it's been like Pandora's box for so many years. Everybody's
Yeah.
talked about it. We've talked about it. You go to the barbershop, you talked about it, especially us being inner city guys, kids, or whatever. We saw it. So
Yes.
it's not something that is like made up or like manufactured. We saw it. And I don't know, it's he did raise a lot of eyebrows, but maybe I'm just punch drunk or something, but I didn't really see what he said that was wrong. I mean, yes, I mean, the DEFCON 3 situation, he's let me put it like this: does anybody get bent out of shape when Mel Gibson or like Alec Baldwin or any of these white dudes go crazy and do any of these things? No, they don't. They're
Right.
entertainers. Kanye's an entertainer. Everybody
Yeah.
relax, please. Like, he can say everything, because there was no venom when he said slavery was a choice, though he
Right.
did explain himself. And that's
Right.
the
You know
part
what it
that's not
is?
being outlet.
Right. That's what. Woo. Yes. That's the problem. Is that you know, one, we're a very forgiving people,
Oh, big
and
time.
even and in times we shouldn't be, but we are.
Yep.
And when he said that, what I did appreciate about him saying that is it showed how as asinine as that was, and then when he did explain it, I get his point, but
Mhm.
we didn't cancel him because we understood that um that wasn't going to hurt us, what he said.
Yep.
And no one
Mhm.
was ever going to take that and change their way of thinking and say, you know what, word, they should have not been slaves. Like no one's gonna be like, you know what, we need to rewrite history because that shouldn't, like, that's not gonna happen. And
Right.
we understood that that's his perception. And when he explained what he was trying to say, there was
Right.
more slaves and this and that. We get
Mhm.
it. But but a lot of what I thought was left out with his lack of understanding on that topic is that in the Bible,
Mhm.
which was written by man, this version, because
Right.
I'm very sure there was a Bible before slavery.
Oh,
But
100%.
yeah, and the one that entered in slavery has about slaves obeying their slave masters and all this other stuff.
Mhm.
And when you're being fed that from birth, it's hard to do a revolt when you fear God. Because remember,
Yeah.
these slaves didn't love God, they feared God because
Correct.
that religion was shoved down their throats. And it was like, if you didn't follow this, you're going to burn forever. And it
Correct.
was like, I suffer in the world, but if I don't follow this, I'm going to suffer eternally. And there was a lot of psychological, you know, torture going on.
Mhm.
So it's easy to say, oh, but there was more slaves and slave masters. Yeah, but there's a whole lot that goes to that he
Mhm.
didn't really touch on. But I understood what he was trying to say. I just felt like there was no substance to it, and I thought it was great. He got to explain it.
Mhm.
Um, I thought it wasn't great that he didn't get a full chance to explain himself this way. He had to go outside routes with like random YouTubers or whatever.
Yep.
Like
Yeah,
no one
Piers
else.
Morgan.
Yeah, like no one was willing to give him a chance for what he, And don't get me wrong, I agree with you fully. The George Floyd thing, that was just stupid. It
Yeah,
just needed
that
to
was
stop.
too left for me.
Yeah, and he's talking about, oh, I saw a documentary. That doesn't. So I want to make sure the world understands that a documentary is not a tool of truth.
Yeah. It's
That's
not
just a bunch
gospel to
of people
people.
that got a camera and
Mhm.
they have an idea
Right.
and they're trying to prove a point. So they will only interview the people that are like-minded.
Right.
That's what people do with documentaries. That doesn't mean it's true. And Candace Owens is she's a firm believer of right-wing nonsense, and she's a
Mhm.
and she's very intelligent, but she also is a heavily white supremacist supporter of
Right.
many things. So, she felt in her way, oh, they're trying to martyr George Floyd. That's not what that was. We didn't martyr him. The cops murdered him. It was a complete
Right.
difference.
Yeah,
And
we
that was
watched it.
just and we watched it. And if it
Yeah.
wasn't for that one person that recorded it, we wouldn't have watched it. And
Yeah.
it would have just been another murder swept under the rug by the police department. So it wasn't that
100%.
he was no martyr. It was an unfortunate situation that he was murdered.
Mhm.
And it was a teaching point. And two, it was we're tired of it. It was like,
Yeah.
God damn it, I'm like, when is this gonna end kind of thing. So no one, she's so for someone to be so intelligent, she's so stupid because
Yeah.
she's so white supremacist, like pro white supremacist in so many ways. Like she really be bashing dudes. Like
Yeah.
she really goes after us for any little thing. And then she makes up these things because she speaks so fluently and so
Right.
eloquently that
Mhm.
her base, which is mostly not too bright. And
Mhm.
it's not me saying that out of like malice. It's actually,
Yeah, we watched it. We watch
yeah,
her because
yeah. Like
she
you see it,
has no she's very unapologetic as to
right?
like her positions and like
Yeah,
I think where also is challenged because you know she is a black woman. I'm not gonna sit up here and throw shade, but like her whole thing, if you didn't see like a physical or anything as far as Candace Owens and you just heard her, you would just think she is the whitest supremacist
yes,
and she's definitely, she was definitely a confidant of Trump, definitely a
yeah,
supporter of Trump. I think just recently, within a week or so, she kind of denounced her relationship with him because she said finally she seen the light and how ridiculous his thought process and viewpoints are. But we all saw it, so I don't know what the hell she was seeing.
yeah. But here's the thing: she only said that because he treated her like trash one day,
Yep.
and then now she wants to spew victim. But be mindful, she forgets all the trash things she said about people through her journey of being a right wing darling.
Hmm.
She's disrespected many people. She's talked trash about many people. She
Yep.
violated people that were murdered unarmed. Like she's spent all her years doing that. And the moment her hero reminded her what he really thought of her,
That was it.
all of a sudden, oh, now she's seeing things that she never saw. No, this has been the same, dude.
Yeah.
Listen, one thing I tell people is Trump is the master of giving nicknames.
Oh yeah.
And it's only a matter of time. She's about to get one.
Oh yeah. I mean, you're talking about a guy that I think since we were kids in the 80s, he's he's had a record of this. I don't know how he's able to, maintain that Teflon persona. Um yeah, he's had in the decades that I know, at least that we've been alive, and I'm sure even before, he's lasted bankruptcies, tax scandals, whatever, if that's what you want to call it, his own criminal activities. He's not dealing necessarily with choir boys. So
Right. Nonprofit frauds, the fake
frauds,
university,
everything.
everything.
And he maintains a way to kind of slither out of all those things. I don't know how that's possible, because I know for us common folk, if we were to have just a couple dollars missing in our tax forms, that's a tax infraction. We're going to jail. No questions
Right.
asked. That's tax evasion.
Right.
For him, I think they write a separate portion of rules for him, because we're talking about a guy, let's be completely transparent. You're talking about a guy who was impeached, they attempted to impeach him twice.
Right.
He was able to escape that. How that happens, I don't know. He had some, I think, the thing with the adult entertainer, she had sued him for the whole NDA thing, whatever. And it doesn't minimize, your work is your work, but like if you're doing something to somebody and, if there's some wrongdoing, you should be accounted for. He was able to bypass that and like free. He didn't have to pay her anything, nothing. Donald Trump has had a history of being just a scoundrel for the better portion of, I don't know. I am well in
40
my
years at
40s,
least.
so
Yeah.
I know he's been running shop.
Yeah.
He became president.
Yes. Listen, I think Dave Chappelle said it best when he said he is the first person to ever say, you know how I know the system is corrupt? Because I'm a part of it.
There we go.
And did not do anything to fix that corruption. If anything, it
Oh,
enhanced his family's bank while he
yeah.
was president. And not one of his followers ever questioned it.
No.
But they're mad at everyone but him for doing the same thing. The master manipulator.
Yeah, it is. And it just seems even now with him being, I guess, indicted or subpoenaed, however you want to look at it,
Yeah.
there's a part of me that knows he's never going to be wearing bracelets. I think people that are
it does
people
feel like
that
that.
I think people that are in this ethical climate that want to be like, no, he's going down. No, he isn't. He's
Nah,
not.
he's not.
He's not. And he's going to prove to you, and he's going to laugh his way out like he always does.
Yep.
And it's unfortunate because like he's telling you I'm going to get away with it and there's nothing you can do about it.
Right.
And
There's
and
nothing.
and
Listen, he is the John Gotti
oh yeah.
of business.
Yeah. Oh, he's definitely, he's got it down packed. But let's not stare. Let's not stare to Trump. This ain't about him. He could be a whole other topic, which I know we'll touch on.
Yeah. That's true.
But
he definitely is a topic.
yeah. But as it pertains to Ye, I think the correlation is there because I know Ye funded Candace Owens' husband's platform. I forget what the platform is called.
Yeah, he went to purchase it.
Yeah.
No, I forget.
Yeah, I can look it up.
Parlin,
yeah.
Yeah.
Whatever that is. I know it was a struggling platform, and obviously, like anything, they used Kanye's likeness and notoriety They boosted, and I'm sure they'll stay above water somehow, some way. Um, I think what I hope happens is that he's able to make sense of what's going on, because if you remember in the Drink Champs, he explicitly said how he wanted out of his deals. How Sway, I know you're a big advocate of saying it, how
Yep.
Sway got it right. And, for us, everyone that understands what we're talking about, there was a couple years back, I think about 5, 7 years ago, where Sway in the morning show, Shade 45, had explained to Kanye. Kanye was going through one of his rants, whatever, this, that, how he hate this and how he demand and yada, whatever. And Sway literally and calmly told him, why don't you do it yourself? And fast forward, current times, Sway got it right.
Yeah.
Since then, Kanye's been stripped of quite a bit. I know he was the highest billionaire, richest billionaire, I should say, black man at the time. And I'm going to say, and I'm going to put it real kindly, in a matter of 7 days, it evaporated. So where did the money go?
Right.
Now, was he a billionaire because of the partnerships, or was he a billionaire as long as those people allowed him to be a billionaire?
And it really makes you really think that way.
Right.
Because in his situation, what's most interesting is that it is like the moment that Balenciaga pulls out, Adidas pulls out. All of a
Right.
sudden, they're like, oh yeah, he's only worth 400. I mean, only, Jesus Christ, I wish.
Right.
400 million.
Exactly.
They're like, he's only worth 400 million now.
Yeah,
He's
like
no
it's
longer.
a
And they love
real
it.
it's
They ran with it. They were
mhm,
proud to state it. You couldn't stop seeing that number, and
mhm,
it's crazy because I think it's exactly what you said. It's because those partnerships, they allowed him to be that way.
right.
But what he showed them was that he is spending power.
Yeah.
Kanye is the brand.
Yeah.
Kanye is spending power because nobody says, yo, I'm going to get them Adidas Yeezys.
Hmm.
Nobody says that. They say, I'm going to get the Yeezys or the Yays or whatever. Like, no one mentions Adidas in that partnership. Not one
Nope.
person who has
You're right.
bought a pair has mentioned Adidas, that they're going to go buy a pair of Adidas. Or no one said the Kanye Adidas. No one
Right.
said that.
Hmm.
Kanye is the brand. Kanye is the spending power. And I really hope, because like right now he's posting videos talking about he's going to sell his clothes for $20. Like, he sounds like a bitter ex right now. And
Hmm.
I really hope he snaps out of that. We get it. You got tons of their stuff because that was your line. You worked with them.
Right.
But dude, just you in a position right now where you could be bigger than them.
Yeah.
Listen,
I
Kanye kept companies afloat and surpassed what they thought they were going to be. I've never heard of Balenciaga before Kanye. Not
Yeah.
that they didn't exist, not that they weren't. I just never heard of them.
Yeah. It's definitely a brand where it's definitely out of my price range.
Yeah,
And
yeah. That's probably why I didn't hear them. but
yeah.
but but he brought, and listen, he made broke people really work overtime because
Yes.
that's
You are right. You
what he
are
did.
100% right. Even if it
Because
was for
I've
the
seen people
belt.
wear it. I've seen people wear $300 t-shirts, and I'm like, dude, you don't make $300 t-shirt
Yeah,
money.
doing too
Like, you have.
much.
Yeah, but this is the power that he has. And I know that a lot of times, see, Kanye, when he does his rants and when he does his braggadocious things, and he tries to be like, oh, I'm watch this. When he was in
Hmm.
Chicago and he like parted the Red Sea and all these
Right.
fools moved over to the side. I just
Hmm.
thought that didn't get him anything, and it just was very arrogant. And I know that also makes him the target that people. Same way with Kyrie, because
Right.
Kanye is the target for the exact same reason.
Right.
Kanye is extravagant, he's different, and that's a good thing. But like you mentioned, he does go on those emotional rants, and it does make him an easy target. People hate his success.
Yeah.
People love College Dropout. People loved the first couple albums.
Yeah.
Then they started to want him to be the target when he started, saying I am the best. And it
Yeah.
was just like, no, it can't be him. Like it can't be. It's gotta be someone else. And
Yeah.
but he's at a realm right now, his position, and as we see, with as many people that tried to go after him, listen, companies went after him and all that, but more people are pro Kanye than anti. And it's not
Yes.
even remotely close.
No, you're 100% right. I think
Not remotely.
where it's challenging also for me, just being a regular guy and understanding, and I'm sure for you even more compounding effect is that he had the Donda School. Um, and I think that had to go belly up because of this whole situation. Now, these people, whoever they may be, claim that Kanye's anti-Semitic. He's being disrespectful. He's destructive. Blah blah blah. But what part did those kids have to do with any of that?
Right. How to yeah, that really didn't make sense. And I think that the people that mostly did that, I get maybe when the first company was like, yo, we can't mess with them. Because I don't think people really had a true understanding of everything that was said. I don't think they
Right.
sat there for 3 hours and 20 minutes or whatever, and watched that Drink Champs interview.
Right.
I think they just saw DEFCON 3, 4, whatever it was,
Mm-hmm.
and they were like, "Oh no, we got to make a statement, right?" And of course, the powers that be, and we're going to say that again, even though we don't, it's kind of a weak thing to say,
Oh,
but
yeah,
the
it
powers
is what
that
it
be
is.
definitely put their foot down in the beginning and was like,
Yeah.
no, we can't partner with him. And then all of a sudden, it was like, that's when all the other companies who were not going to originally pull out, I'm very sure of it, decided, you know what, we'd rather lose money
Mm-hmm.
than stand with. And that just didn't make no sense because Kanye's spending power is not damaged.
Yeah.
People have abandoned Adidas because of that.
Yeah.
People will abandon Balenciaga because of that.
Yes. 100%.
Same people that only bought them because of him
Yep.
have no problem saying I'm good. I don't really need to buy a $400 t-shirt. I'm okay.
Yeah. I mean, also to like add to what you had said, I think it's definitely a true domino effect. And I think if anything, it's shown that if you do something a certain group or, higher powers or executives in bulk do not like, they have friends. Their reach is longer than any of our reaches. So if, they say you can't make no more music, great. Money stops there. Oh, Adidas said they severing ties with you. Okay, great. Money stops there. So they see these two entities do that, and these are things that he's known for. These are highlighted things, and this is where his biggest assets are. So you take that away, and yeah, great. You have money, but money runs out, right?
Right.
And I think that's what their intentions were, to see and hope that the money dried up and put him in a position where he would be struggling. But to our point where we keep highlighting his notoriety and likeness and his ability to market, like this is the same guy who's literally walking around in oversized coats and just handing stuff to people out of garbage bags, and people are taking it.
Yeah.
Now to us, to some people it looks foolish because it's garbage bag, but the marketing value that he provides, it's him. That's what people are interested in. And I think that's the
Right.
part that is the missing element when it comes to these things. I think, I mean, you have talked about it. I think it's between him, Jay-Z, and Drake. If they say something, people are, 1, 2, 3, they're ready to go do it.
Yes.
Um, that's influence at its best. And say what you want, but those three definitely top three in being able to move the needle. Even with his current state, with how things are going, Kanye is influential to a fault. people are still going to do it. I think just recently Adidas said that they're going to still pay him because it, after all, is his designs. I didn't really understand the whole severing of ties with them, but you're using someone's product, you're using his design, but you're not going to pay him for it. Where does that make any kind of sense?
Right.
It doesn't. It doesn't. Like, you don't really have to sit there and think too much or think too hard about it. It just doesn't make sense. And I think that's when, like, as crazy as this whole drama had played out, um, in some ways it's proving his point, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think
Listen, he
people
made
are I think people are designed to like dislike things, but you can always agree to disagree. And I think, especially in our culture, we have a problem with that. Not even necessarily our culture. I think people in general have a problem with that because you don't fall in line and agree with every single thing. It presents a problem. Why? But for me, I think it's one of those things where, yes, we all know Kanye is a lot. Lord knows he's a lot. He's been a lot since unfortunately, since his mom passed
right,
away. He's been a lot. But the message, I get it. The presentation, maybe I might not agree 100% of the time. I don't think anybody agrees 100% of the time. But the message is what, if you can withstand it and look past all the theatrics, he's got a point.
right,
He's got a point. And
and it's materializing everything he's saying. I mean,
big time. Big time. Yeah, big time. And I think that's a part that people are disliking. And and I think the biggest elephant in the room, and I know for us, being people of color, black men, brown, Puerto Rican, Dominican, whatever, we're all black. But I think that moniker anti-Semitic, I have a problem with it simply because it gets carried into death sentence category.
yeah,
You get labeled that, it's like you have the disease of all diseases. And no one wants to touch you. No one wants to communicate with you. No one wants to talk to you. Every word or every comment that you have gets spun. And I feel like that's the correlation with all three of these men. With Ime, it's not
yeah,
so much, that his is kind of an outlier, but with Kanye and Kyrie, they're definitely parallels in the sense that they're being shunned because of their words. And some of their actions people find questionable. Their approach, obviously, it's questionable, at least to some. But the influence that these people have, these two gentlemen have, it scares people. People are
right.
scared because Kyrie, if you amount all his followers, whether it be social media or just generally people who like the guy, it's a lot.
Yeah.
Um,
You know what's crazy? I love how you said that label is a death sentence.
mhm,
I think it's only one person in my entire life that survived that, and it took like years.
mhm.
Mel Gibson is the only person.
Yeah, good point.
And do you know how he survived it? He took his own money and made his own movie,
Yep, Passion of the Christ. I remember.
and boom. And I think and it goes back to what we were saying. Kyrie and Kanye, they have to do their own.
Yep,
Because I think that's how you defeat the death sentence, is
yep,
that you do your own and you don't rely on the powers that be. You
mhm,
become the power that is. And we watched it. Mel
yep,
Gibson defied. He's the only, but he defied it because of his own money. He
yes,
didn't need the powers that be. He took his own and made his own, and you couldn't
100%.
deny him after that. All of a sudden, people weren't as offended.
Yeah. And for those people who don't know who Mel Gibson is Google him. If you know
Yeah,
anything about anything, Lethal Weapon series, Road Warrior series, Mad Max Thunderdome series,
yeah.
that's the person we're talking about. Um, he's definitely one of my favorite actors, and he was beloved up until that point.
Until he said
And
some things.
yeah, and it got ugly. I'm not gonna lie, it got ugly.
But the
And
difference was he said some things.
yeah. Oh, definitely. Yeah, definitely. And then he translated it by making that movie. And
Yes.
that's where I think, I'm not going to say he stepped into it, but that's when the daggers came. when
Yeah.
he made Passions of the Christ, and even the people that were incorporated in it, Frank Caviezel and all those other characters that were in there. It was a storm. It was
Yeah.
quite a storm. But like you said, he's doing fine. He's
Yeah.
okay. He
And it
bounced
was
back.
because he took his own money, made his own films.
Yep.
When he no longer needed their backing,
Oh
it
yeah, they didn't like
they
that.
couldn't stop him. And that's why I really am rooting for Kanye to listen to Sway from many years
Oh
ago
yeah, yeah,
and literally do his own, because he will defy the death sentence.
yeah,
100%.
definitely. Yeah. It's very hard because now when that's like the highlighted topic, and I think you and I are the same in the sense that we watch ESPN or some sports sources to watch sports. I don't want to get into political ties or what someone said when they were laying with their girlfriend and
Right.
this happened and stuff. And that, and I guess that's a shift in the cultures and generations, because like some of the talks that we've had as far as generation, we've outlasted a lot. The 80s, the crack era,
Hmm.
the 90s, the gangs, the big sweeps of the gangs, 2000s, Y2K, everybody dealing with that, 2010s, the scammers, shakers and movers and all that.
K2 and all that.
Right. And then even now, I think I don't want to say it's reinventing the wheel, but I think things evolve, so crime evolves.
Right.
And there's different things. So now it's what we call, you're attacking people for speaking their mind. And it's hard because we understand freedom of speech, but we also understand that there's a disclaimer that comes behind it. You're
Yep.
not free of consequence.
Right.
So there are those that are going to hang on your every word and fact check and try to hold it against you, like even like some of the situations that we currently see, whether it's the down south stuff with the RICO cases and things like that.
Right.
Like, when was there ever going to be a day Black people get the RICO charge?
Right.
That's a hard charge to beat.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying these guys are choir boys, but RICO charge,
Right.
no one wins from that. The
At all.
mob, that law, that indictment, that specific indictment was revered for the mob, and they couldn't beat it.
Right.
So I don't know. This is the direction we're going. But that is another conversation in itself. But with Ye, I hope the best for him. He's a heck of a talent. He's a genius. Like, I don't care how many people say he's crazy. Like, I get it. Like, you gotta be a little left to be in your genius.
Right.
As it pertains to, will he get back on his feet? Yeah, he will. He will. I think that secretly there's a lot of people cheering for him and rooting for him.
Yeah.
With these companies and entities, and you hit it right on the head. And we discussed it a couple of days ago. My son Lennon had recently, and he's continuing to post, and I give him kudos for it, a lot of Black labels, brands, things of
Yep.
that nature. If we do that, that's a
Yes.
step in the right direction.
Yes.
Oh
yeah.
The challenge is people buying into that concept.
Right. I know that's where the challenge because people don't really want to buy it until it becomes popular.
Yep.
And that's the part that sucks, is that, we chase popularity in any way, even if we're introverts, right?
Yep.
We tend to still chase it, whether it's on a garment or something. And that really does suck, because we've said this the other day, our spending power is unmatched.
Big time.
Unmatched. And if we just allocated it elsewhere, the entire dynamic of this world changes.
Yeah.
And I'm not looking for no, global domination, but
Mhm.
it would force companies to treat us differently.
100%.
Right? We would be at the table, so to speak,
Yes.
as far as respect is concerned.
Good point. Good
We
point.
would be at the table if we shifted our funding. And that's the one thing, like, people always talk about crimes of proximity, right? Black on black crime. That's what they want to talk about when it comes to us.
Right.
Black on black crime, black on black crime. They don't say white on white. These are crimes of proximity.
Right.
If you live in the same neighborhood as people that look like you, those are the people that become your victims.
Yep.
Now, crime in general, of course, I wish it didn't happen, but that's impossible. But every time they talk about us, they want to talk about crimes of proximity without saying crimes of proximity. Instead, they'll say black on black. So that way we're always labeled some type of savage animal. That's what they try to do. But if we shifted the way we spend our money, they would have to shift the way they speak about us.
100%.
Because they would need us so badly that they would realize, oh, snap, they're on to us. They have, because our entire lives, we've been portrayed differently than any other demographic on television.
Yep.
Our entire lives. That's why people were afraid of us without even knowing us.
It's still to this day, it maintains.
To this day, people still clutching their purses. Nobody wants your raggedy $40 purse. Nobody wants that. Right? So, but it's because how we've been portrayed.
Right.
I'm telling you, it's all finance. If we shift our spending power, most of the problems get solved. See, the thing is, they know that they have us in that little hamster wheel. They know they got us. They know they could disrespect us, and we're going to come right back because that's what we do. Right? Right now, Nike, Phil Knight could drop the N-bomb, right? He could say it.
Please.
He can say it. And within 30 days, we going to buy Nikes.
Yep.
Because we're going to be like, no, but then the Browns are different or the Jordans are different. We'll come up with any excuse to stay in that wheel because that's what we do.
Yep.
But it all starts, and I know that we can it can go a whole nother ways. So I'll close my part on saying that all we have to do is shift the way we spend our money from A to B or B to A, however you want to look at it. All we have to do is support us, and everything changes. The way they respect us, the way they talk about us, the way they portray us, everything changes.
Right. Yeah, to add to that, you raise a good point. Our people, it's all predicated on influence, right? You see someone wear a pair of Jordans. Where'd you get those? Where you cop those from? I got them at such and such. Okay. How much you pay for them? Oh, I got to connect, blah, blah, blah. That's how our community works. Anything to do in any way to get the product quick. And it's not even owned by us. I mean, that's what's so disheartening.
Right.
And I'm a product of it. I've had Nike since I could wear shoes. And I've played basketball all my life. So obviously being endorsed by companies and stuff. Yeah, I got free stuff, and that's how it was. And even for us back in the day, for all those old heads that remember summer youth, we only worked summer youth just to go buy sneakers. And what did we buy? It was Adidas or Nikes.
Right.
And for the girls, it was Reebok, the Reebok Classics. So we know what it is. As it pertains to changing the guard, I hope we do. The unfortunate part is you're still going to have the rare few that want to be in those labels, the label brands, the Gucci's, the Balenciagas, LVs, and stuff that's not owned by us, that doesn't represent us. Like, they use our colors, but that's not a representation of us. That's just for social status. And
right.
I don't think people really get that. I think they just feel like, okay, I've made it. So I'm gonna buy, and I know those are all main women, and if you're LGBTQ, you deal with like the MERS and all that kind of stuff, have at it. But as it pertains to brands that we are accustomed to, yeah, I mean, we have to do better. I don't know what it's going to take, but one thing I do give this generation is they're able to sway their own opinions. They're able to kind of push the envelope and step up and speak up. I think it's one of those things where they, they're unapologetic about what they want, and I give them credit for that. However, as far as experience and guidance and how the shit goes, they have no clue. They get influenced very quickly. Um, it's easy to kind of sway because if you notice their attention span, if you're talking to any of them, and I'm talking about like even people up to 30 years old, 18 to 30 demographic. If you sit down and have a conversation with them, it's just one of those things where it's like, damn, young blood, you're not listening at all. You don't get it.
Right.
You don't
Right.
get it. And, and it's not their fault. It's a lot of like generations change, and I get it. Like no one's at fault here, but I think it's one of those things where it's like, when will the cycle change? Like I think in our communities, it's hard because everyone's always talking about it. Like break the cycle, break the cycle, break the cycle. It's much easier said than done.
Right.
But all you can do is try to reinvent the wheel and see if it veers into a direction where it's positive and much more informative.
Right.
Because look, you're talking about, you know, Juneteenth. I feel like Juneteenth has just become a big thing in the US since the pandemic started. People like pick up a book and read. Juneteenth has been around since the beginning of time. It's just not been celebrated like some of the nonsense that this country celebrates.
Right. Right.
And that should be an eye opener in itself, because now like corporate America, and some even private entities are incorporating it as a national holiday. For what holiday is that?
Right.
This is something that's been going on. So but it shows you what's important to certain people and certain entities. But I say this to say that Kanye, yes, I'm cheering for him. I know that's probably not the more popular thing,
Right.
but I'm
Right.
cheering for him. I'm cheering for him. I hope he bounces back, and like we both alluded to, hopefully he has a master plan. Hopefully,
Right.
no one can ever think or know what Kanye is doing. He is a loose cannon. He does fly off the handle. Yeah. So, but he is smart,
Yeah.
and he will pull some kind of wool over someone's eye. Hopefully, it's the world, but he still has money. So, me crying over spilled milk for him serves no purpose. He has more money than me, and probably more money than I'll ever see. But with that being said, he is who he is. And, with people like that, you just got to let them be them. You just got to understand that, like, he's harmless. It comes with the package. That's really all it is. I did like when people try to like put him in a box and say that he's detrimental, he needs his medicine. I was like, are you the doctor? Like, what's wrong
Right.
with you? What are you worried he needs the medicine for? But it's whatever. But yeah, so this is what we have as far as these three gentlemen. So Jay, I just want you to give us little closing argument, a little summarization of these three gentlemen and what you think. What do you foresee? Obviously, I'm sure we'll circle back to this topic because this is the news that just never stops giving.
Right.
So Jay, it's on you.
So in my closing, we have a situation, three gentlemen, um there's parallels and there's complete differences, and sadly, Kyrie and Kanye specifically, they're vilified for being different.
Yeah.
And they're targeted because being different is always the easiest target. It was always like that from, the before being a geek was cool, before there was a Comic-Con, the different kid who wasn't athletic but he collected comics
Right.
was the easy prey. And that's who Kyrie and Kanye is, but except the fact that they're 9 figures deep. But they're targets because of their difference.
Right.
Ime happens to be a target, and I believe wholeheartedly is because here's a man who can't fathom the idea that his subordinate, who just so happens to be black, was giving
Yeah.
his wife the business.
Right.
And I think that's what it boils down to because, team owners, specifically team owners, CEOs, there's a long history of racism, and
Yep.
that's in every sport. So
Yep.
people can say what they want. It's the known fact. And I think that for the fact that this guy's subordinate was smashing his wife and he's a young black man, I think that was just everything. I
Right.
believe that um that's what them three have in common.
Right.
Young black men who are in positions to influence other young black men. And at the moment that they were able to be targeted, no one waited for full information. No one blinked. No one even thought about anything other than attack, attack, attack. Ime got attacked before we even knew what it was. Kyrie got attacked without saying a word.
Right.
Kanye got attacked. Well, Kanye's been getting attacked.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Please.
so it doesn't matter what they do. And it's unfortunate that because they are young black men, and this is what I believe wholeheartedly, that young black men of power
Yep.
are easily attacked because of the fear of them being equal at the table.
100%. And well said. Um. Yeah, you took the words right out of my mouth. And to add on to these three gentlemen and how I see it is similar to how you said. With Ime, he's up and coming. He had influence, he had presence, and he was well respected within the organization.
Right.
What ultimately ended up happening is unfortunate on full circle. I know a lot of people got hurt. I'm not going to diminish that,
Mhm.
but I think people have to understand that he is human. People make mistakes. I don't believe in the whole dragging somebody. I think that's completely ridiculous. And especially in his subject matter currently, where there is just the one big unknown, like you're really trying to strip this man of his dignity at this point. And that's not right. Like, I get what he did, but he was not the target. And I think that's the part that people are misunderstanding. Like you said earlier, we had sports pundits and things of that nature talking about how wrong he is and how could listen, people, let's have a seat. This has happened in corporate America. It happens everywhere. It happens in McDonald's. Relax. These things happen. I'm not saying that it makes it right or makes it wrong. It happens. But to
Right.
crucify him and an example out of him is completely wrong. And I think everyone's jumping the gun. And hopefully there's a better trail. I'm sure there's more to the story and how it all evolves and comes together. Everybody will come at peace. As it pertains to Kyrie Irving, just recently, yesterday, he got back on the floor. He played basketball. It was great. I know it was a big grandstand with the black Jews at outside Barclays Center, and to some people, I know they were fear of their hearts and fear of their souls. But people have to understand. Kyrie Irving has influence. Yeah, he has the answers and he does all the theatrics that people may not like. It might get under your skin, but so what? It's Who cares? Like, you don't have to agree with everything everyone is doing. Like,
Right.
if he does it, how does it impact your life? That's how you have to look at it. And I think we're getting into a space where people, like I said before, the peanut gallery, because someone said something. So I'm going to jump on this bandwagon and, oh yeah, they disagree. So yeah, I got to join in. That's what it looks like. And that's how it's coming across, which makes it completely ridiculous. And I wish greater passions for him. I just have a deep problem, and I kind of wish that we never knew about that checklist that he had to deal with. I can't stand that stuff. It's bad enough as us as black men what we have to go through, but that was just merely the epitome of that kind of nonsense. When it comes to our brother, Ye, uh, I think you take Ye for face value. I think we have family members, friends. confidants, associates that would fall in the yay category. Me and you had this conversation a few times. We can tell within the first 10 to 15 seconds someone's talking their BS. And you can kind of filter it, take it for what it's for, move it along, just keep it moving. Uh, One thing Ye has to understand is that yes, similar to all these gentlemen, he has a strong influence, probably more influence than both these guys put together. And he has money. I'm not going to call him poor, but his words carry weight. And the direction that he does things, I think he needs to be a little more mindful, because there are people that are championing him and cheering for him and have the best intentions for him. And there are also people that are just hang-alongs that, will do until the money dries up, and or until the next shoe falls off when he's like cursing someone or doing something crazy. But I think Ye will find his way. He is talented. He's within his genius, and I think he'll persevere to the point where I think he'll pop up somewhere and just say, "I told you so," and that's what I think ultimately, to expect. But what do we know? But yeah. So, ladies and gentlemen, that is our show for tonight. Hope you enjoyed it. Please subscribe, comment, and like, and most importantly, share. Get it out there. We have few subscribers, but help us out. We're trying to get to the pinnacle, and only you can make that happen. So I'm Clem Boogie, and he's Jason. And one thing we're going to get straight to it.
Yeah.
Peace out, people.
Peace.